Welcome to another episode. This episode, we are discovering Kim Castillo's joy, sea turtles. So, not just like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. She is dedicated to saving their lives. And I actually got a chance to see her doing that when my family and I were on vacation in Hilton Head Island the first weekend of August. And there she was on the beach with other coworkers saving sea turtles. What, tell me, what exactly is it that you do? You're a sea turtle patrol.
Right, exactly. We are on Sea Turtle Patrol from May 1st through the end of September or October, depending on the turtle schedule. And we go out at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we wake up at 4. That's not the fun part, but I'm used to it. I do it anyway, even if I'm not on patrol, checking my alarm that make sure that it didn't not function right. And we get out there and we look for mother turtle tracks. Now, we haven't had any mother turtle tracks for 3 weeks now, so we know that the season is over because they nest every 2 weeks from the time they start nesting, which is sometime in May when the water temperature gets to be about 70 degrees. The mothers and the males and the females meet outside the beaches of South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina. They mate, and then a month later, about May 1st, the mothers start coming ashore to lay their nests. And they lay their nests every 2 weeks. So one mother might be responsible for over 800 eggs in one season. That's
Wow.
crazy,
So
right?
then what we saw when you were there attending to a
Mhm.
nest, that was like, we were at the end of the season.
Exactly. We were at the end of the season. We didn't know it yet, but you're absolutely right. Because since the mothers nest in 2 week intervals, after 2 weeks, we call the season because the nesting females that have come ashore on our beach have a regular schedule. And if they don't come for 2 weeks, we would we know that they're not going to come back. The turtles that we have here on Hilton Head Island are loggerheads, like 97 to 99% of the time.
And they're huge.
And they're huge. They're 300 to 350 pounds the first time they come up to lay their nests. When they get sexually mature, they are 30 years old and they have to weigh about 300 pounds.
Wow.
So, yeah,
So
it,
what
it
did we see you doing on the beach there?
what you saw us doing, we had an emergence. So an emergence is at the tail end of the nest. The nest is laid by the mother, covered up. She goes back in the water. She swims around for 2 weeks until the next clutch, which is the turtle term for group of eggs in her body, is ready to be laid. Every single time she lays a nest and covers it up, that's it. Her maternal investment is over. But seriously, if you had 120 eggs, if you had 120 babies, what would you do? Right?
I would pass out.
Exactly. Yeah. You would run away, swim away, whatever. 120 can't even handle one, right?
But when
So,
we saw you, there were only two. So
right.
what, the others had gone or
Yes, exactly. Those two were the stragglers. And actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Joy, you saw them and they were pretty healthy ones, right?
yes,
They
they
weren't
looked
they
healthy.
weren't having, yeah, they weren't having a big struggle. When they emerge from the shell, it takes them 3 days to get from the egg shell that they just came out of all the way up to the top of the nest. You know, these two hatchlings were pretty strong and they were determined to get down to the water. So what we did is we got them from the bottom of the nest and we took them down towards the water. Now, most people would want, and I would want, if I saw hatchlings that were on top of the nest, I would want to put them immediately in the water because I know that they are sea turtles. Sea turtles obviously belong in the sea.
Yeah, you want to scoop them up and put them in the water.
Exactly, but you can't do that
Why?
because instinctively these turtles rise to the top after 3 days of meandering around the bottom of the nest, getting themselves strong, straightening up their shells, unfurling their flippers, absorbing all that egg yolk into their bodies, and then they sit there and they wait. and they wait and they wait and they wait for the sand temperature above their heads to cool down to the point where their instinct kicks in that it is time to emerge from the nest. They don't know if it's night or day. They don't know if it's a high tide or a low tide. They don't know if it's storming outside. They don't know if the moon is shining or not. But what they instinctively know is that if the sand temperature above their head is cooler, that it's time to go, go, go. And
So
that's what they
Kim,
do.
so what did you do? Did you move the sand away from them so they could
No,
feel that air?
no,
How
no.
was it that we walked up and you guys were like escorting them, walking alongside them into the water? How?
Because, yeah, Department of Natural Resources of South Carolina is quite strict, and we have to follow all their rules and their guidelines. And they say once the first emergence happens, where most of the nest, like 80 to 90% of the nest, hatches out in the middle of the night, we have to give the rest of them, the stragglers, 3 days to get out on their own. Well, we did. When you came upon us, we had inventoried the nest. We had pulled up all of the empty eggshells and we had sorted them. And at the very bottom, there were two live, healthy hatchlings. And that's when we take them out and we move them down to the area before the water. And we have to do that. We can't just put them in the water because when the hatchlings come out of the nest, after they get on the top of the surface, instinct kicks in. They look for the wide open horizon line. That wide open horizon line for 80 million years has been illuminated by the stars and the moon's reflection off the ocean. So they get out, they look for that wide open horizon line, and they make a beeline, and they can crawl pretty fast. After that crawl and after swimming only 30 minutes, scientists have documented that they set the GPS in their heads for right then and there for their life. So if we were to pick them up from the nest and put them into the water, scientists have seen them just swim in circles, and they haven't gone through the steps necessary in order to set that GPS compass in their brains for life. So
Wow. So
that's why we cannot pick them up as much as we want to. We can't
yeah,
do
you want to
that.
save them from any dog that might be
I
coming up
know.
on the beach or other people
Exactly.
on bikes or something.
Mhm.
But that is really
Everything.
interesting. So
Everything wants to eat a sea turtle egg, and everything wants to eat a sea turtle hatchling. So on our beach, we have had coyotes, we have had foxes, we have had feral cats, we've had wayward dogs with bad owners, we have had ants, we've had plants, everything wants to eat, and then when they get in the water, oh my gosh, and don't even think about the birds, because if the sea turtles come out, and that's what we were doing, basically that was the biggest threat for those true turtle hatchlings right then and there, because it was already dawn, and as you know, early birds catch the sea turtle. So we were trying to prevent, you're right, bikers or joggers, all these people don't know what's going on, and inadvertently they might actually cause an accident to go on between them and a sea turtle hatchling. And you know how small they were, Joy.
uh,
They're the size of a $50. They're tiny.
Kim, how long have you been doing this?
20, this is my 22nd season.
How do you even get started and then find your passion for this?
I got into it because I was reading, like, just every once in a while. Back in those days, there wasn't a lot of publicity. Nobody really knew what this kind of innocuous looking ATV going down the beach that would stop randomly every once in a while. Nobody knew what was going on. But every once in a while, I'd read something in the paper, the Island Packet, that would say something about sea turtles. And I was like, what? Hilton Head Island, golf. and beach and very developed with hotels and big, beautiful houses on the ocean. They have 80 million year old creatures still coming up on the beach to lay nests. How can that be? That's like, I couldn't fathom that. So at some point in 2003, uh, I was back to school and I wanted to become involved. And so the poor woman that was the manager of the program then got a phone call from me and she said, "Oh, thank you very much. We have a paid staff. We're already staffed." And I said, "Oh, I'll work for free. I'll work for free. No, no problem at all. I just want to volunteer." She says, "No, volunteers, I'm sorry, they don't work out. It's buggy, it's hot, it's sweaty, it's dirty, it's sometimes disgusting. People don't show up. Oh, the lightning, the thunderstorms, blah, blah, blah. People don't." I said, "No, I promise I'll be loyal." And she said, "No, I'm sorry. There's no room on our patrol." Well, I badgered her every week for a while. Then suddenly I lucked out. Somebody left and they were really short because in those days, we are now a staff of 19. In those days, there was only 6 of us. So she tried me out and we were driving down the beach in an ATV. I mean, it was wild and it was fun. And we would stop when we saw sea turtle tracks and we would mark off the nest, just like what we're doing now, only we would use a piece of paper and a pencil on a clipboard. And if it rained, it would wash away. And we were using a 300-foot tape measure instead of a GPS. And we were writing everything down on a clipboard instead of an iPad. So fast forward 22 years. And now it's a very sophisticated system. And it's just as exciting as it was when I started this 22 years ago.
Well, what is it exactly that you have found such joy in it? What is it that is so exciting and and brings out, I can hear it in your voice, in your explanation, how passionate you are about this. What is it that makes you so happy?
I don't know, joy. How do you explain joy? Joy. I mean, seriously, when I talk about it, I get teary eyed. When I talk about it, I get goosebumps. When I think of those days and I think of today, I am just, I don't know. And it's something that is almost unexplainable. I, I
Is it
don't
that you're
know.
helping a creature that is pretty much defenseless, or is it
Yes,
that you're a part of nature when you're
yes.
outside?
Everything. And, you know, honestly, even, those bumper stickers that say a bad day of fishing is better than a great day at work. You just
Yes.
feel that way about even if we see nothing, or even if we see something that's really sad or upsetting, it's just an exhilaration that I wish upon every single living soul on the planet. I wish somebody could have this much excitement, enthusiasm, passion. And it's a passion now. I've 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 been asked this before, and it's a passion that is no longer a passion. It's a fanaticism. I just love it. I had someone yesterday that I took out on our experience. This is something new that we're doing. I'm not promoting it, I'm just explaining it, but it's something new that we started this year. I took her out yesterday, and before we even really went on any kind of turtle patrol, I turned our vehicle to the sky, and I said, just look at this. Can you see? Do you feel it?" And she said, "Yes." And we hadn't even been on the beach for 3 minutes. And I knew then that it was going to be a great experience for her and for me, because the joy that I get from working with the actual animals in and on the beach is equal to the joy I get with sharing it for like-minded people. And if I can convince anyone, even for a few minutes while we're on the beach, and not like this, where I was with this woman for 4 hours, but even just talking to people like you, we talked for no more than 10 minutes. But if I can get somebody else to see and experience some of this joy, I have come away with such, I don't know, an exhilaration. It's beyond joy. I'm sorry, joy.
Well, Kim, there may be people that see this and, they may have that same passion about
Something else.
about something else. But,
Exactly.
maybe, hey, mom, I really have a passion about art and I want to draw and paint. But mom may say, hey, well, I don't know if that's going to pay the bills. And you get a lot of
Exactly.
pressure to conform and do things that are expected of you and are, that can sustain you in other people's minds. So, what would you say to a young person who is passionate about something, but they keep it here because they don't know if anyone else will be excited with them?
Well, that's the sad part about it. It's very much, I'm retired now. And I used to, when I was working, I could only do it on the weekends or holidays or not during the time when I was working. And I feel badly that a lot of people will never, ever really get beyond the place where they are working and get to the level of comfort in their life where they actually will be able to find and indulge themselves. I feel like this is an indulgent. And, people that don't understand this, and they might have a totally different passion and be equally fanatical about it, but the people that don't understand what I do, they really, really think, I won't say I'm crazy, but yeah, it might be. What? You get up at 4 in the morning? What? You're on the beach and you get eaten alive by mosquitoes and flies and it's hot and it's 100 degrees and people are not happy with you because you're trying to maneuver around them and drive around them and then you get into a nest and it's disgusting. Some of them aren't successful and they smell bad and there's body parts that you can't even identify. And I I just I wish not this particular thing on everyone, but I wish for everyone that they could find something that the yucky stuff is so minimal compared to the great exhilaration from trying, even if you're not succeeding that day, the exhilaration that comes from at least trying is enough for me. And it's an exhilaration. I understand that it is a luxury. And most of us that are on patrol are retired. There are a few incredible young people that do this like I did when I was working on the weekends, and they love it just as much. They are as committed as I am. They just, they have jobs and they have babies and they have a different stage of their life where they cannot devote them as much time as they want to. And I know they want to. And I'm lucky to be able to do this every day.
How much longer are you going to do it?
Until I am gone. There's, I have people that are in other parts of the country that are family members that know and love me so much that they can't get it. They don't get it. And I'm never, after 22 years, well, I have a lovely story. About 14 years into this, every single morning that I was on patrol, I would set the alarm and I would get up and my husband would groan and moan. And after 14 years, one day when I was sneaking out of bed, he sat straight up in bed. And I was like, uh-oh, now what's happening? And he said, Kimberly, because whenever I'm in trouble, they say Kimberly. They don't say Kim or Kimmy. He says, Kimberly, you're never going to give this up, are you? And I said, no, honey. And he said, all right. And he went back to sleep. He laid back down. He went back to sleep. And from then on, except for the last, what is that, 8 years, he has been very, very supportive of what I do. He's been wonderful. But before that, he would grouse and grumble and he didn't get it.
That's so fantastic.
I
And I
know.
was able to see that you just loved it so much.
It's unexplainable, but I still, the passion, the fanaticism is there. Yeah.
And for what about those, the last thing, who may want to experience what you're experiencing? They may want to come and help and volunteer and try out.
Well, we have an auxiliary group this year, brand new, an auxiliary group here that helps Sea Turtle Patrol. Sea Turtle Patrol is a nonprofit. It's been in existence as we know it now since 2016. It was actually started in 1981 by a woman who is the OG of Sea Turtle Patrol here on Hilton Head Island. She has now come back to us about 6 years ago, and after she retired, and she's now working very closely with us. She's working on patrol with us.
She's the
And
OG. She was the OG.
she was the OG of Turtle Patrol here on Hilton Head Island.
What's the
Yep,
OG?
original gangster.
Oh,
Sorry. I'm sorry. I thought that was a term that people understood. I'm sorry. But
oh, I understand it.
that's
I
just
just wasn't expecting it.
yeah. Well, yeah. But that's what I call her when I introduce her. When she's on patrol with me and people are standing around and asking questions and she's got her hand, she's up to her shoulder because she doesn't have long limbs. When she's up to her shoulder and they're like, "Ah," I say, "Oh, wait, you don't understand. You are in the presence of greatness." That is the original, the OG of Sea Turtle Patrol here on Hilton Head. So anyway,
Hilarious.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I could talk to you all day.
Oh
This
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and I could talk for months on the stories and on the people that have touched my life because of this experience. Amber Kuhn has been our director of Sea Turtle Patrol since 2016. And she's a marine biologist, she's a master scuba diver, she's a boat captain, and she's absolutely phenomenal. But, she and we don't have to say very much when we're on patrol together because we just understand that every single thing we see, we smell, we roll down the windows, we smell the ocean. We don't want to hear a radio. We don't want to hear anything but the ocean crashing in on us. Smell that sea, hear the birds, and look for baby and mother sea turtles. I mean, that's what it's all about, Joy.
I love it. Kim, thank you so much for sharing your passion.
You're welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to seek me out after our experience together on the beach. It was great.